All right, so if you're watching this right now, this is the final part of the whole entire series that I did for my track titled Drama Cursed, in which I show you how I mixed every vocal element, how everything got put together, doing a mixtape type mixing style, and then we did the mixing, the mastering, and all that stuff, and now here we are. So if you haven't seen that, go back to part 1 and watch the series, and you'll see how we got to this point. So we just did the mastering, right? And I'm going to go on a mastering rant, and we're going to talk about why you did not see this and why you're probably wondering. I know some of you are wondering why you did not see this, and this is what you didn't see. Now, some of you are probably like this, and I'm going to poke fun at you. Don't get any hard feelings about this, but check it out. You're like, Dozer, during the series, you showed us mastering, but you didn't show us how to use multiband compressors. You didn't do any multiband compression, man. I didn't even see you do any multiband stereo imaging, or you just sure as hell didn't add reverb. Are you serious? There's no reverb on your master? What? All these YouTube people and people on YouTube talking about mastering are showing me how to use reverb, man. They're showing me how to use these dynamic processors in mid-side mode, man. They're just showing me equalization in mid-side. All this stuff, and you didn't do that. How come you did not do that to your master? What's going on here? Do you know what you're even doing? Well, I like to think I do know what I'm doing, but check it out. Here's the deal. A lot of the stuff you're seeing about this, mastering engineers aren't always using these. When would a mastering engineer really use multiband dynamics? Let's think about this. Okay. Now, if you go to an internet forum and you say, hey, you say anything about multiband dynamics in a mastering forum, they're always going to tell you, I never use one. Barely ever. And you know what? Most of them are being legit and telling you the truth because, yeah, they barely ever use the mastering multiband compressor. They're usually using a single band compressor, which is just a regular compressor like you saw me use, like the PSP Master Comp. However, most of them are probably using hardware or something like that. They rarely need to use a multiband compressor. But why? Why would you need to use one? The only reason why you should be using that dynamic processor in multiband compression is, I'm going to tell you a couple reasons. Are you ready for them? The first main reason you might see a mastering engineer using a multiband compressor or multiband anything is because he was talking to the person who sent him the actual file to master, and the mastering engineer heard something that just did not sound right, maybe a buildup, or maybe there's a sound or something, you know, crackling, who knows what it is, a problem with the audio file, a problem with the song, something that he's like, you know what, I can master this, but I'm going to let them know about it because he's a good mastering engineer, right? He's going to say, I'm going to inform them that there's just way too much in the 2 kilohertz region, and there's some other stuff going on with some of the instruments that just don't sound right, and I'm going to let them know. And he's going to let them know, but they're probably going to say, most of them, okay, man, fine, cool. I'm glad you heard that. Thanks for letting us know. I'm going to go check that out, and I'm going to fix it, and I'll go send it back to you. Or he might say, you know, there's this problem. I can fix it. I can do it here. Are you going to be able to fix it? And then the guy's going to be like, the guy who sent him the file is going to be like, you know what? I can't. I got this instrumental, man, from this guy offline that was in MP3, and I laid my vocals to it. So I don't have the access to that. But what I did do was I just laid my vocals, and then I mixed it down, and I sent it to you. So, I mean, just try and do what you can do. That's when the mastering engineer is going to be like, 2 things. Sure, man. I'll take it. I'll fix it. I'll do what I can, if he can, in his mind. If he's like, you know what, I can do this. But guess what? You're not going to get the best results. I'm going to do this, but there might be some issues, and I'm going to try and get you the best master that I can. And then the other guy's going to be like, sure, cool, whatever. So what have we learned? Problems. To fix problems, the mastering engineer is now going to take that track that had the issue that could not be fixed by the mixer, by the guy who sent it to him, and he's going to use his multiband compression in probably mid-side mode, okay, or whatever he's using if he's not using ozone, and he can actually get in there with mid-side mode and do some mid-side compression to compress something. He can go in there with some mid-side EQ, and he can actually go in there and start doing some stuff, but that's if he has to, right? So what else would I want to use a multi-band compressor for? Where you don't always have to use it just to fix problems, okay? So don't sit here and say, oh, Dozer's saying you only use it to fix problems. That's the only reason. No. Guess what? Let's say within this region here, this band, not this band, this band, the one you're looking at, right? So within that band, only when all elements of the mix are together, I can get the sound that I want as a mastering engineer, as just yourself trying to master your own stuff. I can only get the sound from a multiband compressor in that specific frequency range only when everything is together. What do I mean by that? All your instruments, your vocals, basically your whole mix. When you do multiband compression, it would create a different sound than as if you did compression within the mix on single items. So you're able to treat everything as a whole as the whole mix, and you're going to get a different effect as if you were just using a single band compressor in a specific, or a multiband compressor on one instrument. So there you go. Creativity. You can get kind of creative and get certain sounds. So basically, to bring this all into perspective, you might use a multiband compressor because you can only get the effect or the sound that you're looking for by using the multiband compressor on the whole mix. Another reason you, as someone who's trying to get into mixing and mastering or whatever, might use a multiband compressor or multiband anything is because a lot of you are getting your instruments from offline. So you go online, you listen to an instrumental, you're like, man, I like this, you download it for free, and some of you are just laying your vocals down to the instrument. It's called mixtape style mixing. You're basically trying to do it for a mixtape. They call it that because most people who are trying to invest in themselves and make a professional track would purchase a tracked out instrumental with all of the instruments separate on each track. This would be my kick, this would be my snare, this would be, a violin, a string or whatever. You know what I'm saying, a mixed out instrumental. Well, some of you are just using the actual instrument, which is perfectly fine. It's mixtape mixing. That's what you're calling it. Well, that's when you might want to use a multiband something, okay? Might want to use a multiband compressor, multiband EQ, because you got the instrumental and you want to go in there and you want to tweak some things. Well, yeah, that's when you would use it. You would go in there and you know what? The snare is too loud. So you're going to go in there with your multiband compressor and you're going to set up your multiband compressor. You're going to go into it and you're going to go to where the snare is, and you might say, you know what? The snare is going down the middle, so I'm going to go into the mid. And then I have mid-side, but I'm going to mid, and then I'm going to start doing some compression, and you're going to compress it maybe, and if that's not working, you can do some mid-side EQ. You're going to start working on it because maybe that snare is too loud, okay? And you can actually get in there and start messing around with some stuff. You can only do so much, though. Now, that's when you might want to use some stuff on the instrumental because you're doing that mixtape style mixing, and you don't have access to the tracked out wave files. So that's another reason or that you might want to use it. Vocals. You can use multiband stuff. I'm sure you've seen it before. A sound that you can get only from using multiband compression or multiband anything, multiband compression or excitation on a vocal that you can't get with a regular compressor. But I'm sick and tired of seeing all these YouTube people and just anybody talking about, so the next thing I'm going to do is you got to use this multiband compressor when you're mastering. Otherwise, you're not really going to look like a mastering engineer if you don't use one. Okay, crazy. Okay, let's move on to reverb. Why would you want to use reverb? First off, rarely, and I mean rarely, and I'm telling you this, and if you go ask any mastering engineer, they're going to tell you, man, I'm not really ever using reverb, man. I mean, they can fix that in the mix, or most of them, they just don't need reverb. However, have they ever used it? Yes. What does adding reverb do? Well, if something, and it's just too dry, and it just doesn't have a certain sound, you add reverb. If it needs it. You should not be putting reverb every single time, okay? You don't need to do that. Only if it needs it, and rarely would you ever use it. If you have enough reverb in all the instrumentation, all the vocals, and most instrumental producers are going to have all the reverb already on it and stuff like that, you shouldn't be reaching for the reverb, man. So I'm seeing all these people on YouTube say, yeah, man, you got to throw on the reverb, you got to bring it up a little bit, you know what I'm saying? That's how you do it, bruh. Just bring up the reverb, man. It's going to make it sound really cool and wide. Okay, no. Don't be doing it just because you saw someone doing it and they said to do it. Do it if the track needs it. And then also research it first and find out why you would even want to add. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to add reverb, but research that before you even do it. Don't just listen to someone on YouTube saying, do this, okay? What else? Stereo imaging. All of them say, you know what, you want that big wide sound that mastering engineers give you? They all use stereo imaging, and on some of them are using multiband. Oh, yeah, this is cool. Let's crank up the stereo image here. Oh, man, this sounds really wide in my ears. Well, chances are, if you got an instrumental and you're doing mixtape mixing, maybe some of those instruments aren't panned the way you want them. So, yeah, you could come in here and you can start changing the stereo image using multiband, okay? And that's cool. You know what I'm saying? You can do that. But don't do it every single time you master. If you're mixing it and then the instrument sounds good and then you pan your vocals and you did proper selection of your instrument, and you're doing mixtape mixing here, and you did a proper instrument selection and then you panned your vocals where you needed them to be, you don't really need to be doing any stereo imaging, especially with your vocals on there, because now you're doing a master, right? You're doing a master, and you're going to get in here and you're going to start messing up your whole vocal panning scheme that you set up already. So when I crank this up for these higher frequencies, anything within that frequency range is going to start getting panned out and stuff, right? Well, then what the hell did I do all my panning for on my vocals for? Why would you even... You're basically chasing your tail here. I'm not going to say only, but if a track needs a little bit of widening because maybe the stereo, when the person mixed it, was really conservative on their panning or something like that, for a million different reasons, you just need to use it when you need to use it. What I'm trying to tell you here is you're seeing a lot of people on YouTube, or you're trying to learn this stuff, and you think you need to use this, and then you're like, how come my song doesn't sound like the next person's song? It's because you totally mangled it by cranking all kinds of crazy, wacky shit up. And now your song sounds frickin' crazy, right? Wider, super wide isn't going to be all that great. You need to also be checking mono compatibility. I like Studio One because I can just click on this, boom, mono compatibility. So there's that. Harmonic excitation. People are going just way overboard with this stuff. So you might see people on YouTube go, yeah, bro, check it out. 3 on the high band, and then I use a 1.3 here, and then I use like a 3.2 here, and then like a 0.5. Put these settings in, bro, and your stuff's going to sound really professional. All mastering engineers are doing this. No, that's not true, okay? Harmonic excitation goes a long way. You can really mess up your tracks, and it's going to sound good. It is going to sound good to your ears, and then if you A and B it like this, bypass it, unbypass it, it's going to sound brighter, it's going to sound more live. You're tricking yourself, okay? Because really, it's probably sounding really shrill, really fatiguing on the ears. You just don't realize it right away. You wouldn't realize it till later. Because no matter what, if I bypass this processor and I put the harmonic exciter on and then I bypass it, it's going to sound like more dead. It's going to sound like I'm sucking the life out of my track. But that's because now you're comparing it to something that's being excited. It's just something you can't really compare. You shouldn't compare it like that. So don't be fooled into thinking you got to have a certain setting that you got from someone offline or something and think that that's going to help you out. Equalizers. Some people show you like you equalize out the lower frequencies. You know, you might go into... One way you can do it here is by going flat high pass there to turn the high pass filter on and really low the lowest frequency down there. And they say you're going to get rid of all the low frequency stuff because you can't hear it. And they'll also say, to roll off your highs because you can't hear that. I can hear this, okay? I can hear this in my studio. When I roll off these higher frequencies, I can hear that. However, some tracks, you know what? I do that because it needs it. Don't do it just to do it. Do it because it needs it, okay? These lower frequencies down here, they're more felt than heard. But right here where this thing's at right now, these lower frequencies, that's dealing more with DC offset. And the maximizer on here has a DC filter. So you're good to go. All you got to do is cut this DC filter on and you get rid of all your DC offset. That's basically what you would pretty much accomplish by taking all these lower frequencies out. But I'd rather just, rely on this DC filter right here to do that. So I know I've gone on and on about this kind of stuff, about just look, you need to use your ears. Don't believe everything you're hearing online. Go listen to some reputable people. Go inside some of these forums like Gear Sluts, Future Producers, and some other ones. And there's some people in there that really know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. They know what they're saying. And listen to these guys listen to the ones that know what they're talking about. But just know that some people that when you go in these internet forums, other ones, and even these, that you're going to have some people that don't really want to give you all the info. They don't want to give you all the info because then that's just losing their business. Some of them are really helpful. They'll help you out. But when it comes to this mastering stuff, just know it's a sensitive subject and you're probably going to ruffle some people's feathers. I'm probably ruffling some people's feathers right now. Who knows? Do I care? Hell no. I just wanted to get this off my chest and let you know about this stuff and the reason why you didn't see me do it. You didn't see me do any EQ also during this whole series on my actual master, but now that I'm listening to it, you see I had to hurry up and put my track out. Let's go look at that track. I had to hurry up and put this track out, right? Well, when I did that, I was doing it in a quick manner because I wanted to hurry up and get it out there for you guys. So I didn't put too much time in the mastering. But now that I'm hearing it, you know what? There is a little bit of frequencies in there I think I would like to EQ out. So if I end up going in there and changing anything, I might make a video on it. I might not. Who knows? But I am hearing some things that probably do need to be EQ'd, especially in my vocals. It's actually in my vocals that I can go fix. But that's because I was listening to it on a couple other systems somewhere, and I heard some things that I didn't like. I hope you guys like this series. Hope you guys got a lot of info out of it. If you did, go ahead and like this video, like my other videos, subscribe, please, and then because I'm going to have more stuff coming. I got a couple other tracks I'm going to dig into that have all kinds of different things going on in them. I mastered them differently, and you'll get to see how I worked with those too. And those will be a whole other series and of themselves. So, peace out, take care, be safe. Dozer is rolling out.